and it's our Ministries mission day. And so out of Devoto we do prayer and worship, and we do groups like this, and we have other things going on occasionally, like speaking classes and stuff like that. And then iKAN, we build tools for discipleship. So I do a lot of work for both of those. And so that's just a little bit about me, just a little snippet. But I get the honor of talking to you guys tonight. And so I don't speak a lot, but I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and I said yes, so here I am. And about a month ago, I was like, oh, that's no big deal. And then about a week in, I'm like, oh no, I have to speak next week. I was like, I can do this. Okay. But I'm going to move this because otherwise I'm afraid I don't walk into it. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about the power of our words. So just think with me for a second, because words are the most powerful thing in the world. Because if you think about it, God created this world with words, and it still goes on today. He said, let there be light, and that light to this day still separates the light and the darkness. He said, let there be seed-bearing plants, and still, as the seasons come, the seeds are there, they bear new fruit. It's still going on today. He doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, today, make the plants bloom, make the animals have more babies, and let the food chain keep going. But no, he took care of it all one time when he started and when he created the world with his words. And so for a long time, I didn't realize how important words were. I didn't understand. I'm like, okay, well, they're just words. Like, you can say whatever you want, and it doesn't matter what you say. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, And then, because of that, I didn't understand how important my own words were. So I never knew words were so important. And so, growing up, I called myself a Christian, but I didn't really know what that meant. And we went to church occasionally, and that's where it ended. I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. I didn't read my Bible. I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't know how to. I had nobody guiding me daily or weekly or anything, teaching me how to do those things. And so, growing up, I thought, well, God's just somebody who just is up there, and he's just waiting to squish us all when we do something wrong. And you know what? I can't stand him, because he's the God who does all these horrible things, and he's okay with it. Well, I'm not okay with it, so I don't really want anything to do with God. And I hated myself. I didn't really like myself at all, and I struggled really hard in high school just trying to pretend like I have to have it all together, because people, they look up to me. They think I have it together. They think, we have to look up to Kathleen for things, and I was just like, okay, well, you know who I've let you know. But nobody really knows the real me, because the real me on the inside, I hated myself. I didn't want to be around. And it was after my senior year in high school that I really fell in love with Jesus. And what I thought would happen would be like some supernatural, like, yes, okay, I get it, there's hope, we have hope, we have life in Jesus. I was really excited. I recommitted my life to Jesus, and I just started this new path. Like, yes, I love Jesus, I want to know more. I want to know this person that has given me hope and life and reason to live again. But I thought immediately I would be transformed. I thought, okay, yes, I no longer have to hate myself, because, God says that I'm chosen and I'm worthy and I'm holy and I'm loved. Okay, God, yes, okay, thank you. But it didn't happen like that. I still felt unworthy, and I still felt like I'd never be good enough. I still felt like, why would God save me? Why does it matter? And I just remember in that time just being like, okay, well, I'm a Christian now. I have to put on a mask, because if we're Christians, everything's okay, right? We're going to die eventually, and, we're good, though. So in this life, we should be good. I don't have to have troubles or anything, and I have troubles, so I'm just going to pretend like I don't. And I put on a mask. And on the outside, I was happy and alive and ready to take on anything, but I was still dying on the inside. And I didn't know how to get out of it. I poured over my identity. I was like, okay, God, like, I want this to be mine. I really want to know. I know you say I'm loved. I know you say I'm holy. I know you say I'm chosen. I know you say I'm adopted. I want to be your daughter. I'd write it on my mirror. You are loved. I'd put a circle. I'd be like, you're beautiful. But why didn't I feel it? Why didn't I really believe it? And it's because the words I was speaking in my thoughts were louder than anything anybody else could say. And those words contradicted everything God said about me. And suddenly my words became more important than His. And I consumed those thoughts. And eventually those thoughts consumed me. And out of the overflow of my heart, I became the person I thought I was. I was like, see, I really am not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm an idiot. I'm dumb. I'm never going to figure this out. Not worth it. Like, people should just give up on me. And I then flipped and began actually speaking what I thought instead of what God said about me. And that went on for quite a while. And then I was reading in the Word one day, and I read Proverbs 18:21. And Proverbs 18:21 says, the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. And I was like, oh, okay, God, what does that mean? Like, what? Like, rewind. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. And I'm like, ouch, okay. So no wonder I'm trapped here, because all I've been speaking is death, and the harvest I'm reaping is death. So I was eating the fruit of my words. And I was like, okay, well, I get it, okay. I think I get it. Like, okay. I don't want to be those things I speak over myself. And it was the day I learned the value of my words, that I got set free to speak life over myself. Because all of a sudden I understood. I understood it was so much more than just what you said. But it was like, did I really want all the negative things I spoke over myself come to pass? I mean, think about it. Think about every word you said today. What if you could see immediately the impact of what you spoke? Would it change what you said? I know it would me. Even today, like, I'm preparing for this talk, I'm speaking words, I'm like, oh, I wish I hadn't said that. Because if I saw immediately the impact of what I just said, I would have changed my words. Right? Does anybody else feel like that? Like, ooh, wish I hadn't said that. Like, I regret that. Okay. You know? And it made me realize that I didn't want to be all those things I was speaking over myself. And I started reflecting, like, okay, do I say God's word and truth, or do I speak death? Because in that instant, I realized there's no in between. You're either speaking truth and you're speaking what God says, or you're speaking death. And I was like, whew, okay, time out. I don't want to speak death. And I started on a journey that day and just said, okay, I know where I'm at, and I know I don't want to be here anymore. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to start speaking life. Now, that was a while ago. That was like 2 years ago. But still, to this day, I still speak death over myself. What do I say all the time? I'm so broke. Oh, guess what? I am broke, because I keep saying I'm so broke. I wonder why that never changes. Because in the Word it says, if you ask for bread, He won't give you a stone. But all I keep coming to Him with is, God, I'm so broke. Okay, thank you. Like, okay, I could change that. You know, something else I say a lot. I'm like, I'm so stressed out. Like, I can't handle it. I'm too stressed out. And I say that a lot. And I began to realize that that is like physically manifesting in my body, because I keep getting attacked with migraines. And that's the stress that I keep speaking life to and it is actually manifesting itself in my physical body. And I'm like, okay, no more. Because the truth is I have peace. And God says, Jesus says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So who am I to think I have to do this all on my own, right?
Right.
And something else, I say, oh, I'm so stupid. Like, does anyone else do that? Like, when you just do something really dumb, you're like, oh, I'm stupid. I don't actually believe I'm stupid. I actually think I'm kind of smart. But, like, whenever I do something dumb, I know, right? But it's like, when you do something dumb, you're like, oh, man, I wish I hadn't done that. I'm so stupid. But I'm like, well, I don't really believe that. But for a while I did. And because I thought I was stupid, I quit everything I started once I hit a wall. Once I didn't know what to do, I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm not smart enough to figure this out, and I'll never be able to figure it out. So I'm going to fail. So I might as well fail right now, so I don't have to fail later. So, your turn. Someone else take over. But the truth is that I have the mind of Christ, and through Jesus, I can do anything. And so, I realized every death word I was speaking over myself was criticizing God and coming against His creation. Because what does Isaiah 64:8 say, right? We are the clay and He is the potter. Who are we to say that we know better than He does? Like, He created me. Who am I to say what I am? He's like, no, like, you don't know yourself best. I know you best. And this is what I say you are. And so every word I speak that doesn't line up with what He says, I'm criticizing His creation. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that, God. Like, it really hurts my feelings when people are like, wow, your painting isn't very good. I can't imagine what He thinks about us. Like, when I say that stuff about myself, I can't even imagine, like, what He thinks that we think about us. He's like, no, I created you special. You're my masterpiece. He wouldn't say that if He didn't mean it. So, is our opinion really more accurate than His? I don't think so. But how often do I elevate my opinion over His? I'm like, whew, okay. New plan. And I started evaluating my words I spoke. Like, what about you guys? Like, do you pray one thing and say another? Have you been killing the seeds of your prayers with your own words? I know I have. I do it a lot. I mean, do you know the power of your words? I just felt like God really asked me that for a season. He still asks me that sometimes. Like, do you know the power of your words? Like, do you say you're going to be somewhere at a certain time, but you're always 15 minutes late? Do you pray for your marriage, but then gossip with your girlfriends about how horrible your husband is? Do you pray for your relationship with your mom or your dad, parent, to get better, but to your siblings you're like, they're never going to change. It's never going to be any different. I do that. I was just doing that yesterday. Sure, yeah. But why does it matter? Like, why are our words so important? And I realized, Jesus said, anything you ask for in my name, it will be done. So when you speak to your body, but you're always 15 minutes late, when you say you're going to be on time, what's your body respond like? Okay, well, do you mean now, or do you mean in 15 minutes? What about when you're praying for the enemy to get away from you? Does he listen to you the first time, or do you have to feel like it didn't happen, so it can't be true? I mean, I struggle with that sometimes. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I want my word to matter, because I want the power of my words. And it's any time I speak to my body, I want it to respond immediately. And, I mean, if you're like me, I've been thinking all day about, like, the death words I spoke. I'm like, dang it. I think I would have learned since I'm writing, like, and I'm talking on this tonight. You think I would have at least today not said anything. That's not true. But, and so, I mean, it's okay if you're thinking it. I'm thinking it too. But I would say we do it because on a deeper level, we don't really know who we are. The lie is that we believe we know ourselves best. I mean, I know my sin. I know all the gross stuff that I've done and everything that makes me unworthy. I know that, even if other people don't know it. I know the stuff that makes me not worthy to receive the love of God based on my own understanding. But the truth is God knows us best. The lie is we think we know ourselves best, but it's not true. God knows us best. And he saw everything we were ever going to do. He saw it all. And he was like, you know what? She's still worth it. If he only sent Jesus to die for you, it would have been worth it. Jesus would have done it just for me. And I'm like, what? Are you sure? Because I don't feel worthy of that. But the truth is God calls us worthy. And that's why he sent Jesus to die for us. And so, I've by no means arrived. Like, I realize now the power of my words, but that doesn't mean I, have stopped all the negative words I've spoken. But I know where I want to go. And I know I don't want to stay here. And Romans 10:17 says, so then faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God. And I have started to think of the words I speak as seeds. Like, those seeds will produce a harvest. Just as sure as they are planted, I can be equally as sure as there will come a time where they will be harvested. And so the question I've been asking myself is, what harvest do I want to reap? Like, what harvest do I want to reap? Like, do I really want to have to take in the harvest of all that junk I've spoken over myself? No. Like, I want to eat the fruit of life. And so I want to share kind of a cool story with you guys, because as I was thinking through this, I was like, man, I wish I had a good example of, like, where I've done this well, and it came out well, but I was like, but Sherry helped me think of one, so it's about my dad. And so my dad, for a long time, he ran a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center for women. And so there was a time about 3 years ago, maybe 4, I don't know, it was a while ago, where he just was constantly, like, stressed out. He was just like a ball of, like, oh my gosh, you just didn't even want to be around him sometimes, because he'd stress you out with all his talk about everything that was going wrong and why everybody, like, had it wrong and he knew what was right. And I was just like, oh, I can't even take it. Like, I don't even know how to talk to you, Dad. I can't relate to you. And so about this time, I fell in love with this song called The Words I Would Say by Sidewalk Prophets. Has anyone heard it? So I love that song. Okay, so the chorus really spoke to me, and I loved it. And so what I chose to do was speak that over my dad. And I just said, you know what, Dad? Be strong in the Lord. Never give up hope. I was like, you're going to do great things. But you know what? You already are doing great things. I already know. I can see it. I was like, God has his hand on you. I was like, he picked you up from wherever you were, and he is using you to set people free. I was like, don't you dare live your life in fear. Don't forget why you're here, Dad. And so I decided to do that. And I spoke that over him, like, literally almost every day for 7 months. And the truth is I didn't have to do that. Because the truth is he's my dad, and so you can all probably assume, like, your own daddy-daughter relationship is sometimes a little bit stressed out, because you're like, okay, Dad, had too much dad time. And so the truth is, I could have spoken something else over him. I could have remained silent. I could have said what I was really thinking, and sometimes I was not thinking that. I was thinking, okay, then just give up, whatever, just do whatever you want to, Dad, just, throw it all away. I could have said that, and I chose not to. I chose to consistently speak that over my dad. And I forgot about it for a really long time. And then he was here a couple months ago, driving through on his way to Arizona, and we went out for a quick spin. I don't even remember where we went. But that song came on, and he was like, oh, Kathleen, I love this song. He's like, I love this song. He's like, those words, he's like, I can't get enough of it. I love to speak those words over the girls at the center. he was like, it's so true. He's like, God has his hand on them. Like, they're going to do great things. I know it. And I was like, that's awesome, Dad. Like, I love this song too. And he was like, so you've heard this song before? And I was like, yeah, I've heard this song before. And I was like, don't you remember who introduced you to this song? And I was like, don't you remember, Dad? I was like, wow. Okay. I was like, I remember. I didn't remember until then, but then I was like, oh my gosh. Like, that, how cool is that? That I spoke that over my dad for so long, and it changed him and transformed him, and he received it for himself to where he could speak it out because he believed it, and he could speak it out over the girls at the center who were hurting and lost and trying to find their way. That's the power of our words. And I want us to be that to every single person we meet. I've just lately been thinking on my words and what I say, and I'm pretty much disgusted. And so how I see it is I have two choices. I can either, wallow in my disgust and stay there, or I can, choose to turn around and go a different way and do something different. And I've chosen to go a different way. I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I want to challenge you guys to do the same. And so my challenge is, between now and the next truth group, for us not to speak any death, just life, and be quick to refute every tongue that condemns or accuses us, including our own. Because how often is the accuser's voice actually your own? It accuses you just as much as anybody else. And so I want us to refute every voice then that accuses us, including our own. And don't condemn yourself, because we're all there. We all do it, It's not a time to be like, oh, man, messed up again. I said that, and I didn't mean to, Don't condemn yourself. Just say, okay, I recognize that that's something I don't want to say. Thank you that I get to make a choice, and I'm choosing to say this instead. And I just think it's time to rise to a new level. It's time to stop agreeing with what is contrary to the Word of God and to start to speak out His Word and to know our impact. Yeah. It's a ripple. What we say to the people around us impacts people for generations. And when you realize, how it's not just you. It's not just you. If I would have stayed that person who hated herself and was afraid to speak to people and was afraid to share who I really was, I would never have gotten the chance to talk to anybody, to change anything. For generations to come, now my family tree would have been like, okay, well, there's Grandma Castle. She is quiet and doesn't, talk to anybody, or...
That's funny.
It's the first thing I could come up with, so. But I just want to encourage y'all, because I know that it's hard. It's really hard sometimes to agree with what you don't see. And I want to challenge you to just keep agreeing with it. Okay, God, who do you say I am? And do I really believe it? Do I really believe you are who you say you are? And do I really believe that I am who you say I am? And even when you don't see it, I just encourage you to just keep speaking life. Keep saying, okay, God, I don't see it, but I know this is what you say about me, and I want to believe it, and I want to be able to stand on it. So I'm going to pray really fast, and then I am going to encourage us to split into groups of 2 or 3, and just really be open with each other and just say,